What would you do if you woke up one day and didn't know who you were? Fortunately, it's not a question most of us will have to answer, but we can ponder. Vigilo is a story about the Doctor, containing tales from a time before Babel all the way to the present. It's a glimpse into what kind of person the Doctor is, both before and after their amnesia. Some secrets are unveiled, while more show themselves. So, without further ado, let's jump in. After an academic conference with Mama John's, where they offered to retail Rhodes Island medication and Amia declined, your group is attacked by mercenaries hired by, unsurprisingly, Mama John's. Although Closure's self-driving system manages to escape by driving your car off a cliff, the supply of oropathy inhibitor samples are stolen. You wake up in the wasteland, being rescued by Cannot, the eccentric traveling merchant. For some money, he can take you and Amia through the wasteland. On the journey, Cannot is surprised at Amia's survival knowledge, and Amia says you taught her all of this a long time ago, though you obviously don't remember. Cannot tells you about the troubles on the wasteland: bounty hunters, bandits, Rusthammer, bandits in Rusthammer, the catastrophe worshippers in Rusthammer, the demon gang in Rusthammer, and so on. The group arrives at an outpost owned by Mama John's, where many infected workers are lined up to receive their share of oropathy inhibitors. Amia notices that the quote-unquote inhibitors are just painkillers and supplements. Cannot explains that the company doesn't actually need to give out real medicine, since the infected don't know any better. With the samples they stole, they can make better fake inhibitors to deceive more people. You're not gonna let this slide, so you pull Cannot aside and ask him for his help. To convince him, you tell him that you know that you're being followed by his men, and if he agrees, you won't bother with the documents that he took from your car. Cannot calls out the demon gang, telling them that they got a lot of work to do. You turn yourself in to the police, saying that your company smuggled oropathy medication into Colombia. Government officials jump in and seize the evidence. Rhodes Island has to fork some money and get a slap on the wrist, and Mama John's gets nothing. Everything works out in the end. You're released shortly after, and you prepare to deal with the much bigger problem that is explaining yourself to Kazdel. Kazdel performs another scan on you, remarking that you really did lose your memories and you weren't faking it. Your implicit memory is recovering quickly, along with your past skills, but otherwise you still don't remember much about yourself. The Rhodes Island landship encounters a sudden and severe catastrophe storm. It's too late to fall back, and if they choose to remain in place and weather it out, they will sustain heavy damage to the ship and may even result in casualties. However, you suggest the third option. You try out some fancy formulas, and calculate a safe path through the catastrophe. With everyone's help, the landship successfully makes it out of the storm. Kazdel tells you that the formula you used regarding the nature of Originium was one that you invented yourself, meaning that you still remember what you did as an Originium researcher. There's been a question on your mind, and you ask Kazdel if she wants you to regain your memories. She says she'd rather hear it from you, but she won't stop pursuing other methods to figure out what really happened. And she instead asks if you want to regain your memories. You hesitate, and Kazdel says that a lot of things might change if you knew the answers. Though seeing your performance lately, she thinks Teresa trusted you more than she thought. Later that day, Ayafala comes into your office, whose application to join the operations department was approved after you convinced Amia, as her reports helped the landship survive the catastrophe. You give her your notes on catastrophes, and welcome her to come and talk to you if she has questions. Scout and Ace find an odd red machine. Ace thinks it's scrap metal, but Scout thinks it's something useful. You overhear them making a bet, and say that you can go with them next time to see what the machine is all about. You wake up on Rhodes Island. You do normal human morning activities like brushing your teeth, taking special medication, putting on a protective suit, and eating. You wander into a warehouse in the biological processing bay, where you find Beagle wiping down a shield. You remember that it once belonged to Ace, the elite operator who sacrificed himself so you could escape Chernobog. You also find a box of objects from reunion members, and lastly, an odd red machine. In the lower levels of the landship, W tells the Sarkaz boiler worker that she's leaving for Victoria. The worker says it's not good for a Sarkaz to go there. W asks why he decided to stay at Rhodes Island, and he attacks the boiler, saying that he should protect what Theresa had left them. Ascalon, who will be going to Victoria with W, tells her that it's time to leave. It's revealed that Ascalon was connected to Theresa's in the past in some way, and that she used to be W's superior. You arrive at the lower level, having been told that the boiler worker wanted to speak to you. The worker says that he just met with W, and begins to tell you about your, W's, and Babel's past, which you can now find in W's archive file 4. At the end of the day, you open the red machine with Closure's help. A bottle of beer pops out, and you realize that it's a vending machine. You decide to put the beer beside Ace's shield. Theresa learns of the individual known as the Doctor from Kazdel, and asks her to take her to meet you. In time, you become Theresa's trusted advisor. The situation at Babel grows worse as Theresa's military commission garners more support from the Sarkaz. As Babel evacuates to the Kazdel border, you are attacked by an assassin who is discontent with how you and the feline are always around Theresa. However, this assassination attempt is anticipated, and Scout appears and apprehends him. You ask the assassin why he thinks Theresa would trust two outsiders. He says it's because you lied to her, but you point out that it is he who stopped believing in Theresa, and refusing to accept that, he put the blame on you instead. Theresa and Kazdel arrive. Although you suggest exiling the assassin, Kazdel disagrees, and Theresa decides to send him to Ascalon to be tried. The betrayal saddens Theresa, and she worries that the doubt will affect her other followers. Kazdel informs her that a new group of mercenaries, led by Holderer, will arrive shortly, and you hear from Ascalon that the assassin has ended his own life. Theresa tells you not to worry, and that she trusts you. Scout reports back to you after failing a mission, a very rare occurrence for someone like him. He's surprised when you say that he should be commended instead of punished. You ask why he's trying to cover for a girl named Rika, who presumably was the reason for the failure of the mission. Scout explains Rika's situation, how her father died in battle and her mother is infected, and that all Rika wants to do is fight for Theresa. You decide that no one will be punished this time, and tell Scout to make up for this with his future performance. On Rhodes Island, you continue to do normal human activities like working your ass off and being forced to watch Closure's ads. In the afternoon, you help out two other operators with moving an oropathy patient, who is linked up with a decrystallizer machine that can dissolve internal crystals to stop them from puncturing organs. Ascalon mobilizes to counter Theresa's forces. Theresa says that although Ascalon leaving makes her worry about Babel's security, having you in command brings about a sense of safety. Kazdel suddenly asks you what it means to be alive. You say that it means to be free. Kazdel then asks, what is it that you fight for? Closure chats with PRTS, the Rhodes Island AI, as she runs tests on it. She finds the simulations they did to calculate the viability of the Chernobog rescue mission. Only 2 of the simulations were successful, and even then, the losses they sustained was more than 3 times than anticipated. PRTS asks if it's really reasonable to bet everything on one person. Closure says it would be a lot worse if the mission wasn't approved, partially because Kazdel forced her to work 24/7. They needed a long time to adjust after Theresa left them. She tells PRTS about how she used to hack the Kazdel system with her friends, until Theresa came and brought her to Rhodes Island, where she met the Doctor. She describes the Doctor as relentless, a word that PRTS' original mysterious creator seemed to like too, since it was one of the first words in its databank. PRTS insists that, based on probability, it doesn't approve of gambling like that, and Closure says there seems to be something it lacks that stops it from thinking entirely like a human. Closure runs into you as she leaves, and although you say you have just arrived, she doesn't really believe you. After she's gone, you access PRTS, and after confirming that you can access anything within your credentials, you ask, who is Priestess? And why can't Kazdel tell you who Priestess is? PRTS runs for a bit, then tells you that you, and everyone else for that matter, don't have the credentials to access this information. You leave, wondering if you should try asking Kazdel again. There's still a lot that we don't know, whether it's about this world or about ourselves. You might say that you fight against fate, or you might say that you fight for Rhodes Island, or you might say that you fight to protect Terra. But no matter which option you pick, don't forget your answer. For everyone has a path they have to take, and we have to find ours. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next video.